Before many viewers accepted Netflix's version of events, Michael Jackson's name was once again pulled into the center of a familiar and deeply controversial narrative. But Debbie Rowe's perspective makes that portrayal far more difficult to accept without question. She had been close enough to witness the man behind the headlines, the side of Michael that cameras, tabloids, and documentaries rarely chose to show. And when she spoke about him, she did not describe the frightening image that so many had come to believe. Instead, she described someone she felt had been condemned by suspicion long before the evidence was ever seriously examined. That is precisely why her testimony carries so much weight. Long before Netflix revisited the controversy, Debbie had already challenged the assumptions that shaped how millions of people viewed Michael Jackson.
There's nothing I can do to take it back. And if someone was hurt by it, saying I'm sorry.
Debbie Rowe directly pushed back against the way many people interpreted Michael Jackson's friendships with young boys. As the interviewer attempted to steer the discussion toward suspicion, Debbie refused to accept that premise. Instead, she stated that throughout her own experiences, she had never witnessed anything she considered inappropriate or alarming. That distinction is significant because she was not offering a generic celebrity endorsement or speaking in broad terms. She was describing what she personally observed. In her view, many people had already formed conclusions about Michael long before examining the evidence for themselves. Once those assumptions took hold, even ordinary interactions were viewed through a lens of suspicion, allowing everyday behavior to be transformed into something far darker than she believed it actually was.
I should have tried harder. I should have tried to stop it. I should have done more. I should have done something.
Then Debbie Rowe takes her perspective a step further, firmly rejecting the idea that Michael Jackson would ever intentionally harm a child. Instead, she says his natural instinct was always to comfort, encourage, and help them. It becomes one of the interview's most powerful moments because of the certainty in her voice. She doesn't come across as someone carefully protecting a famous name or repairing a public image. Rather, she sounds like a person exhausted by repeating what she believes should have been obvious all along to those unwilling to consider another point of view. In Debbie's eyes, Michael was never a threat to children. She believed he was someone deeply drawn to children who were ill, isolated, or facing hardship because he wanted to bring them joy and make their lives a little easier. That perspective changes the emotional weight of the entire conversation because Debbie is doing more than denying accusations. She is describing the compassionate character she believed existed at the very core of Michael Jackson.
Something dark.
Now, throughout his career, he's surrounded himself with young boys as friends, right?
Yeah, boys hang out with other boys.
Did you ever advise him against it because it might not look good to the rest of the world?
I'm not his mother. I didn't see anything inappropriate about it at all.
Okay.
How would people view it if it was me? Or you?
Well,
all of a sudden it's inappropriate? You can't do that?
Well,
I'm confused as to where people have come up with the decision, a blanket statement, that it is inappropriate. It's because they have preconceived ideas that are absolutely incorrect.
Then Debbie Rowe goes even further, leaving little room for doubt about where she stands. She firmly rejects the idea that Michael Jackson would ever deliberately harm a child, insisting that his first instinct was always to care for, comfort, and uplift those who are hurting. It becomes one of the interview's defining moments because of the conviction behind every word she speaks. She doesn't sound like someone trying to rescue a celebrity's reputation or protect a public image. Instead, she comes across as someone weary of repeating what she believes has been overlooked for years by people who had already made up their minds. In Debbie's view, Michael was never someone children needed to fear. She believed he felt a deep compassion for young people who were sick, lonely, or carrying emotional pain, and that his desire was simply to bring them hope, happiness, and a sense of comfort. That perspective completely shifts the emotional tone of the conversation, because Debbie is not merely rejecting accusations. She is revealing the man she believed existed behind the headlines, a person whose defining quality was compassion rather than cruelty.
Michael's heart really was.
You're comfortable with him being around your children all the time, despite those rumors.
He's their father.
But you don't have
And
any
he is
fear
not a pedophile.
that he would do anything to any of them.
Absolutely not. Not to his children or to anyone else's children.
Okay.
Except help them if they needed it. If he could do something to make their life better, to make something less painful, to make life a little bit more tolerable, even for a minute, he would do that. But he wouldn't do anything to hurt a child. And I'm tired of hearing it. Because you can only take the lies for so long. And I've reached my limit. And that's why I'm doing this. I'm tired of the lies.
What made Debbie Rowe's testimony especially significant was that she did far more than simply refrain from criticizing Michael Jackson. She openly defended him, while also directing attention toward the people surrounding the case and members of the accuser's family. According to Debbie, the positive things she said about Michael were entirely her own beliefs, not words prepared or rehearsed for her. She also claimed that some individuals within Michael's circle were motivated by personal gain and were more interested in his wealth than in his well-being. In that moment, the courtroom narrative seemed to shift. The discussion was no longer focused solely on the allegations against Michael. It also raised questions about the intentions, credibility, and possible motives of some of the people connected to the controversy.
Just a little over 300 miles west of here, more witnesses are set to take the stand in the Michael Jackson trial today. And this morning, prosecutors are reeling after a second day of testimony from Jackson's ex-wife, Debbie Rowe. She was called to help their case, but as NBC's Mike Taibbi reports, that strategy.
Debbie Rowe's role in Michael Jackson's story did not end when the 2005 trial concluded. Following Michael's death, she once again took the witness stand, this time speaking about his long history of medical treatment, chronic pain, the doctors who cared for him, and his use of powerful medications. Her testimony portrayed a man who had been living with severe physical suffering for years, rather than someone whose final crisis appeared without warning. Debbie traced much of that ongoing pain back to the injuries Michael sustained during the Pepsi commercial accident, explaining that he later received increasingly strong medications while different physicians competed for influence over his care. Her account reshaped the conversation by presenting Michael not simply as a patient, but as someone surrounded by people entrusted with protecting his health, people who, in her view, may not have given him the care and protection he truly needed.
In fact, she expanded her testimony that her glowing interview about her ex-husband 2 years ago was not rehearsed or scripted in any way, and talked not about a conspiracy led by Jackson against his accuser's family, but by the inner circle around Jackson aimed directly at the singer's money. They're opportunistic vultures, all of them, she said, adding that the current accuser's family was also after Jackson's millions. The prosecutors quickly ended their morning's examination of her.
Another part of Debbie Rowe's testimony makes those concerns feel even more unsettling. She recalled remaining beside Michael Jackson during certain sleep treatments because she wanted to be sure he would wake up afterward. That single memory carries extraordinary emotional weight, suggesting that people closest to Michael had already begun fearing something could go terribly wrong long before the tragedy that ultimately unfolded. This was never presented as the story of a celebrity simply relying on medication. Instead, it was the story of a man desperately searching for relief from relentless insomnia, placing his trust in doctors while those around him quietly worried that the very treatment meant to help him could one day become the greatest threat to his life.
victim.
Frankly, it was sad, Piers, the story that she told, and that was of competing doctors trying to give Michael Jackson as much pain medication as they could and trying to one-up each other during the time period after he was recovering from that 1984 Pepsi commercial debacle where he burned his head all the way through the rest of his life. She also testified that she saw in Munich, Germany during the 1997 Victory Tour, Michael Jackson getting propofol in a hotel room, saying it looked like a surgical suite, getting it just for sleep 2 consecutive nights or 2 separate nights during that tour. And she talked about his drug use and how low he got during this period. It all comes back to these doctors that she says was taking.
This is the point where many critics believe Netflix's narrative begins to lose its footing. The documentary presents the controversy as though the public is still being asked to decide Michael Jackson's guilt, despite the fact that the criminal trial reached its conclusion years earlier. According to those critics, rather than presenting the entire historical context, the film draws viewers back into the emotional force of long-standing allegations, making a legally concluded case feel unresolved once again. That is where the controversy lies. It is no longer simply recounting past events. It is revisiting a verdict that had already been delivered in a courtroom. And when a documentary chooses to revisit a case of that magnitude, many argue it carries an even greater responsibility to present the subject with exceptional care, accuracy, and balance.
Mr. Jackson would seek the help of doctors to get some sleep?
Not until we became friends.
And when you became friends, did you then come to have that understanding?
Yes.
Did he ever discuss it with you?
Only when I was there.
Okay. And on those occasions, would he say to you, "Hi, I've got to get some sleep. You come with me while I get some sleep at a doctor's office"?
Sometimes.
And do those include the 3 times outside of the states that we discussed?
I insisted on that.
Why did you insist on that?
I wanted to make sure he woke up.
So you insisted on being present because you wanted to make sure he woke up.
Within its first week of release, many viewers were already calling for documentaries that focus on verified facts, complete context, and careful investigation rather than sensational storytelling. According to critics, the official court record makes Michael Jackson's story far more complex than a simple narrative can suggest. While Netflix presents one interpretation of the events, supporters argue that revisiting the trial testimony and the defense's evidence reveals a much more layered picture. That has remained one of their central arguments for years. A documentary can influence how audiences feel by emphasizing certain moments and perspectives, but it cannot replace the depth of a courtroom where evidence is examined from every angle. A film is designed to be emotional, tightly edited, and persuasive. A criminal trial follows a different standard. Witnesses are questioned under oath, cross-examined, competing evidence is challenged, and both sides are given the opportunity to test each other's claims. For that reason, some critics argue that when Netflix presents the controversy in a way that feels emotionally conclusive, it leaves out one of the most important questions of all: why the outcome reached by the legal system differed so dramatically from the suspicion that continued to exist in the court of public opinion.
Careful.
Yeah, Netflix is now trying to get on the Michael Jackson business as well with a new documentary called Michael Jackson, The Verdict. I want to play just a small clip of the trailer to show you why myself and other fans are nervous about it.
It was our opinion that they began to come up with these allegations to get a payday.
Testimony keeps on coming.
Culkin called the allegations absolutely ridiculous.
Guilty or innocent? We decide. He's innocent. Like, he won the case. They didn't win. He wasn't proven guilty. There's no you decide here. Why are they trying to rewrite history yet again to smear Michael Jackson, to make it more slanderous? This right here proves to you this is not going to be an accurate documentary. It's there to get rage bait. And I urge all you Michael Jackson supporters and all you just regular people, popcorn fans, do not go watch this documentary. Don't take the rage bait. Don't engage. Don't watch it to fact check it. Just ignore it, especially in its first week of release. Let's show Netflix we want actual documentaries, real information, the truth, not salacious.
Tom Mesereau's remarks add another layer to that criticism. As Michael Jackson's lead defense attorney, he openly questions the decision to revisit a case that had already been resolved in court. He reminds audiences that this was never a legal mystery left without an answer. After hearing months of testimony and reviewing extensive evidence, a jury returned verdicts finding Michael not guilty on every count. Mesereau's argument is straightforward. No Shore documentary can fully recreate everything jurors witnessed inside that courtroom. In his view, if Netflix chooses to revisit the most serious allegations, it also has a responsibility to present the evidence that challenge those claims, including the inconsistencies, contradictions, and defense arguments that ultimately influence the verdict. His comments carry particular weight because he is not speaking as a distant observer or devoted fan. He was present throughout the trial, examined the witnesses, understood the evidence firsthand, experienced the pressure of the proceedings, and saw the weaknesses he believed existed in the prosecution's case.
They covered the entire 2005 trial, and even though Michael won the case, the documentary paints the picture that Michael was a monster who got away with abusing children. But then, I went and found the real court documents, the testimonies that they chose to leave out. See, the story that Netflix tells you isn't quite what it seems. Even the family at the center of the whole case, the Arvizos, in the documentary, they're the victims. The broke family, the sick kid, the superstar who took advantage of them. But that's not the family I found in the court records. What they don't tell you is this family is probably the worst nightmare for a celebrity. And this is a scam that they've been running for years before they met Michael.
The Martin-Bashir connection makes the controversy even more difficult for critics to overlook. They argue that Netflix relies on a figure whose interview became one of the most influential and disputed media moments in Michael Jackson's life, yet gives far less attention to the broader context surrounding that coverage. According to those critics, that distinction is important because if a documentary uses past journalists and media narratives to shape its story, it also has a responsibility to explain why those sources became controversial in the first place. Bashir's interview was far more than an ordinary television appearance. It marked a turning point that dramatically influenced how millions of people viewed Michael. Images and impressions created during that broadcast continued to follow him for years afterward. For that reason, critics contend that if Netflix chooses to revisit that chapter, it cannot present the surrounding media coverage as though it were entirely objective, impartial, or free from controversy.
Case.
This is a very joyous time for supporters and lovers of Michael Jackson. The biopic is setting all kinds of records. His memorabilia is selling all over the world. His music is streaming all over the world. Even his book Moonwalk is flying off the shelves. I mean, this is a great time to be a supporter and lover of Michael Jackson. So why do we need a biopic why do we need a documentary in the middle of this that goes back 21 years in a case where he was completely exonerated? The jury deliberated for 8 days. They had seen almost 5 months of testimony. They had been in trial 5 days a week during those 5 months. They deliberated 8 days and they came back with not guilty on every felony count and every misdemeanor count. 14 times they said not guilty. Well, that's what it is. The media, I'm not including everybody, the media tends to want to glorify salacious allegations. They don't like to spend time on the counter-argument. So the media and this documentary spends time on very dramatic, disturbing, salacious allegations and doesn't do justice to the problems with the prosecution's witnesses and the prosecution's case. For example, there's no mention of Chris Tucker, who was our last witness, the famous comedian and actor. He testified as our last witness. He said that he knew this family, he had experience with them, he had concerns about them, and he told Michael to be careful. And he described the accuser as cunning.
What gives this moment even greater impact is Martin Bashir's own later statement. He acknowledged that Michael Jackson was never convicted and said that, based on what he personally witnessed, he did not see wrongdoing. For many critics, that observation does not fit comfortably alongside the darker narrative that continued to circulate for years. Instead, it introduces another layer of complexity to a story often presented as straightforward. One of the individuals most closely associated with the media storm surrounding Michael later recognized that the case was far less clear-cut than many believed. The public frequently remembers Bashir as a central figure in shaping Michael's damaged image. So when that same person makes comments that do not reinforce the harshest assumptions, it raises new questions about the narrative itself. It highlights the difference between the public perception that took hold and the experiences described by some of the people who were actually close to the events.
So Netflix brings him back in, sits him down, and lets him walk you through how he met Michael and earned his trust. They frame him as a credible, respected journalist who finally got the story. Except Netflix leaves out one pretty important detail about Martin Bashir. The documentary mentions that Bashir interviewed Princess Diana in 1995, and it's a big reason why Michael trusted him. Over 20 million people watched it, and it's the thing that made his career. But in 2021, an investigation by the BBC figured out how he actually got the interview. He faked bank statements. He had a designer mock up fake documents to make it look like people close to Diana were being paid to spy on her. And he used those fakes to win over her brother and get himself in the door. So that's the man whose documentary launched the whole case. Basically, Bashir was a snake in the grass. It's the same play that he ran on Diana.
Another point that critics consider significant is the allegation that certain parts of Michael Jackson's private life, including accounts of his relationships with women, received far less attention because they did not align with the public image many media outlets had already established. According to people who make this argument, some journalists were aware of details that presented Michael in a more ordinary and human light, yet those details rarely became the focus of coverage. They believe that raises an important question. If information that complicates the narrative is consistently overshadowed by material that reinforces a darker perception, audiences may never receive the complete picture. Instead, they see only the pieces that support conclusions already taking shape in the public imagination. Critics argue that this is how a complex individual can become confined to a single public identity, leaving little room for the contradictions and nuances that exist in real life.
The truth is that he was never convicted of any crime. I never saw any wrongdoing myself. And whilst his lifestyle may have been a bit unorthodox.
Unorthodox? I'll accept that. It is weird, fans. You gotta accept that from time to time.
I don't believe it was criminal. And I think the world has now lost the greatest entertainer it's probably ever known.
So why are we constantly kicking this man while he's down? I am so sick of this narrative. And clearly, the people are as well. They have spoken. They don't want to watch Michael Jackson keep getting kicked. They want to celebrate the man and all that he actually, the good that he did. They don't want to just believe a few money.
This is where many critics believe the imbalance in Michael Jackson's public story becomes unmistakable. The accusations and sensational headlines were broadcast to millions, yet Michael's own responses rarely spread with the same reach or intensity. According to those critics, this is often how public perception takes shape. People seldom remember every fact in a complicated case. They remember the version that was repeated the most, amplified the loudest, and packaged in the most dramatic and emotionally persuasive way. Once that narrative becomes deeply rooted, even a clear denial can struggle to break through because the allegation has already captured the public's attention. Michael could explain, defend himself, and tell his side of the story, but many supporters argue that years of relentless suspicion had already influenced how audiences viewed him. From their perspective, the media did more than report events involving Michael Jackson. It helped shape the lens through which the world was encouraged to see him.
I don't know why they don't. I don't think anyone believes it. I remember the New York Post called me, or New York Times once, after that hit piece, 2019 documentary, Leaving Neverland. And they called me on the phone. I don't normally talk to media because they always twist things. And they said, Matt, what do you think of the documentary? I said, these guys are lying. You guys followed us everywhere with your cameras and paparazzi. You did not leave us alone. You know the girlfriends. And I named the girlfriends and how to find them. He goes, yeah, we know about her, we know about this one, but it goes against the narrative. So we're not interested. We want something juicy. That won't sell newspapers. I just put the phone down on them. That's what we were dealing with all the time.
Then the discussion turns to one of the most controversial allegations surrounding the footage itself. Martin Bashir has been accused by critics of encouraging scenes and visuals that later contributed to portraying Michael Jackson in a suspicious light. If that claim is accurate, it changes the way viewers may interpret what appears on screen, because video rarely speaks entirely for itself. The very same moment can seem ordinary in one context, yet appear deeply troubling once it is edited, repeated, and placed inside a darker narrative. Many people naturally treat recorded footage as unquestionable proof, but documentaries are shaped through countless creative decisions. The questions asked before filming, the guidance given off camera, the music, the editing, and the narration all influence how an audience understands what it is watching. For that reason, critics argue that if the material was presented in a way that ultimately damaged Michael's public image, viewers should also ask how much of what they believed came from the footage itself, and how much came from the way that footage was constructed.
Fortunately, Living with Michael Jackson got like 100 million viewers, whereas the positive documentary where he had his cameras, where Bashir would say, Neverland's a real bad place, you know, it's real bad for you, you know, and so forth. And then the real cameras also, Martin Bashir saying, this is so great how you've made this for the young children and to help the Heal the World Foundation and Make-A-Wish Foundation. It brings tears to my eyes, Michael. But unfortunately, he didn't get the viewership like the initial documentary did. And Michael never really recovered from that. That was just devastating for him.
This is the point where many critics believe the debate surrounding Netflix's documentary becomes most apparent. They argue that the film presents the controversy as though it is still awaiting a final judgment, even though Michael Jackson already stood trial in court years earlier. According to those critics, a documentary should not encourage viewers to view someone as guilty without presenting the complete legal record, particularly when that person is no longer alive to answer the accusations. In their view, the problem is not that people continue discussing Michael. The concern arises when that discussion begins to resemble a second trial after the first one had already reached its legal conclusion. That is why Debbie Rowe's testimony, the official trial record, Tom Mesereau's response, and the questions surrounding Martin Bashir's reporting are often raised together. Supporters argue that these points do more than defend Michael on an emotional level. They highlight why the full story is considerably more complex than the single narrative they believe Netflix leaves viewers with.
I don't know if you remember the bit where he's holding Gavin Avizo's hands, who went on to accuse him of John, and he leant on Michael's shoulder. Michael would never allow someone to do that. But the person who was there, I can't name them at the moment because they're involved. You're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. They're involved with legal action where they're suing the estate for money. But this person told me, Matt Bashir said to Michael, why don't you hold his hand? No one thinks you're a pedophile, especially if you're holding his hand on international TV. This is going to be huge, Michael. This is your chance to show them that you innocently want to have children. Then he'll say, Gavin, put your head on Michael's shoulder. Let's show the world how nice, and Michael's got nothing to prove to anyone. Because no pedophile's going to go and hold a child's hand and have him lay on their shoulder, are they? And talk about sleeping in the bed. But Bashir, this guy told me, who's relayed back, instructed him to do this. It's on camera. Well, there you go. Public are starting to realize